just to check in here and like think of this as a roadmap. Like if you wanted to go from drive from here to California, you're going to need to follow a map and you're going to have stops along the way, right? So where are you in this roadmap with your particular brand? And always refer back to this so you know the next step to go forward. This is meant to be linear and chronological. Now there are some parts of this that can be done out of order, so it's not like a hard fast rule that you have to follow this exact format. But in general, this sequence is what we have seen lead to success. So just think about where you are. You don't have to. We'll talk about this later in the call, so that we can help you at whatever point you are in the roadmap. But just make a mental note to yourself right now, like, oh, I'm like around number 8 or number 9 or maybe number 16 or so forth. Okay. But today we are actually going to do a study about your brand story and your brand statement and what message your brand conveys to the public. Because when we think about big brands that we know today, like think about Apple, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, what Mercedes-Benz, each of these brands conjures up a different feeling in your mind. Like you think about these brands in a different light. It's almost like characters in a TV show. Like each brand has its own personality and things that it stands for. And that's what you want to be able to convey with your brand. And as an emerging clothing brand, you need to be able to convey this very quickly to the market. The faster the market gets and understands your message, then the faster you will grow and be adopted by the public. So we wanted to look at a brand today that has been around for centuries and is still today regarded as a popular luxury sought after brand, Louis Vuitton. So I'm not sure how many of you know the story of Louis Vuitton and the history of how it got started, but the reason I like to look at the history of a company is because success leaves clues, right? So there are certain elements that made Louis Vuitton a successful luxury brand and where it is today. So I like to go back to the origin of it. This goes back to the 1800s. And Louis Vuitton was an actual person. I mean, his name is actually Louis Vuitton. So one guy started this company, and they were initially a luggage company. Back in the 1800s, when people traveled, how did they travel? They traveled by ships, boats. There weren't any airplanes. So the boat, when people got on the big boat, they had to stack their luggage underneath the boat in order to travel. And of course, you needed to be rich to travel back then. I mean, you still need to have some money to travel these days. Now it's more democratized. It's more affordable to buy a plane ticket. But back then, only rich people could really afford to get on the boat and travel around the world. And so when they stacked this luggage underneath the boat, some of the luggage was kind of rounded and some was flat. So the rounded luggage, they had trouble stacking it up under the boat because it would slide off. It's hard to stack something that's rounded. Well, Louis Vuitton, he made his box, his luggage like this, like you see in the picture, where it's flat and easily stackable. So the travelers started preferring the Louis Vuitton brand, and the people who operated the ships preferred the Louis Vuitton brand for that functional reason, because it was stackable. So what happened is other luggage manufacturers started copying Louis Vuitton and making flat luggage. So Louis Vuitton had to stand out and let people know that, hey, this is the real Louis Vuitton, not the knockoff stuff. And the way that he did that was by putting his initials all over the box. So it was meant to make Louis Vuitton stand apart. That's how you knew you were getting the quality, the original Louis Vuitton luggage. And so initially he just had his logo on there. Then it evolved to putting it all over, doing like that all over print, which is their signature look that you see today. So it's interesting to see how something was born out of like pure quality, and then it evolved to a need to distinguish itself. So it started to represent exclusivity and luxury, and people want and still want to this day Louis Vuitton because of these things that the brand stands for. So what words would you use to describe Louis Vuitton? What words come to mind? For me, quality, number one, and the craftsmanship, luxury, timelessness, exclusivity, and expensive. But not expensive in the sense that expensive more in the sense that when you have Louis Vuitton, you're making a statement like, "Hey, I can afford this. I'm of a certain level." That's what you're kind of saying subconsciously when you choose to buy Louis Vuitton because you want people to see it. So let's think about your brand and as it relates to this. What is your brand statement and you can write this down and you don't have to come up with the 100% brand statement today. This is something that you want to mull on and the words might change from time to time. But I want you to write down your brand and what are 3 words you would use to describe your clothing brand and that you want to convey to the public. Like somebody sees gold, what are the feelings that come to mind? What are the words that comes to mind? For Mario, when somebody sees DMT, what words come to mind? What feelings comes to mind when they see that? And just start brainstorming, just writing down all the words that you want to convey. And some of them will be synonyms. And then you can narrow it down, I would say, to 3 words that you feel represent your brand. Now, important point here is that those 3 words may never be seen by the public. That's not what it's meant to do. Like you don't see Louis Vuitton advertising and saying quality and timelessness. I don't think I've seen ads like that, maybe, but they don't have to use the word because the brand stands for the word. Honestly, Louis Vuitton, at this point, they can just say Louis Vuitton. You already know what it is, and you're either with it or you're not. So that's what you want to think about with your particular brand. And it's so important to nail this. The faster you nail this, because what you're defining here is what your brand stands for, but that also defines what your brand doesn't stand for. Because every time you say yes to something in life, you're saying no to something else. So that a brand can't be everything to all people. You won't see Louis Vuitton sold in Walmart or in Family Dollar, right? So they are saying no to that particular group of people. It's fine. Now, of course, somebody can shop in Walmart and shop at Louis Vuitton. That's totally fine. But you're not going to find Louis Vuitton in a discount store. So think about your brand. Where do you see your brand being sold? What price point? Because everything communicates a message. The price point, the price communicates a message. A higher price communicates, oh, this is quality stuff. Whereas a lower price might say something else. And if it's kind of middle of the road, then that says something else. So think about all of that as you craft your brand image, because it's super important to get that out there, because a first impression is a lasting impression. And that's the same you've probably heard that phrase in regards to people, but it's the same thing with a brand. When someone comes in contact with your brand, whether it be in an Instagram post or in a commercial or in a magazine ad or in a video, what's that feeling that they're going to get from the messaging about your brand? Because that is how they're going to file you away. So the way the human brain works is that we naturally have a desire to file people and things in a certain places. We have to make sense of it. So whenever you meet, you can't help it. When you meet someone, you're filing them in a certain place in your brain. Like, oh, Ethan, that's the clothing guy. He's the Zeus's Closet guy. Monica, they're with Zeus's Closet. They work as clothing brand. Of course, I'm much more than that. As you guys know, I'm a dad. I'm a brother. I'm a husband. I'm a son. I'm a runner. I do a bunch of different stuff. But you all aren't thinking about me in that light because your brain has filed me away in a certain light, because that's the context in which you know me. And that's fine. That's what my brand is to you. So your brand, while it may mean a lot of things to you, you need to decide early on what slice of that you want to be the public facing image of your brand and what you want it to stand for in people's minds. And another thing you can do, and I didn't type this on here because I just thought about it, but we just use Louis Vuitton as one example. Think about some other brands that you like. What are your favorite brands? Write that brand name out, and then what are 3 words you would use to describe that brand? What does that mean? And then go look at some of their commercials. Look at their ads. Go look at their Instagram account. See what they're saying, what they're not saying. And especially if it's a brand that you feel is in alignment with what your brand stands for, then see how the messaging is. Um, Another example I like to use is Wendy's, the fast food place. Do you guys follow like Wendy's Twitter account that they're really famous for being like the smart ass? They have these comebacks on Twitter, and it makes it stand out because it's like this is what the Wendy's brand is all about, and they'll throw jabs at McDonald's and Burger King, and it's really fun and it gets people interesting because it's like this image of this innocent little girl, but here she is snapping at people on Twitter. So it kind of creates a little spark, right? Well, they very carefully thought about that brand image that they want to portray to set themselves apart in the marketplace. Um, so anyway, I could talk about this stuff all day. I'm very fascinated by branding and marketing and messaging, but I think it's very important for you to figure out early on so that you don't want to go down the wrong road accidentally. And when I say the wrong road, I mean the road that you really didn't intend to go down, where now let's say you choose one avenue and 2 years from now, you're known as the discount brand or whatever, and you really wanted to be the luxury brand. Well, it's better if early on you decided to craft your messaging around luxury and not accidentally use terminology and colors and stuff that push your brand in the wrong direction in the eyes of the consumer. All right, so with that, I will kind of stop talking here. I know I've kind of had a monologue. I hope it made sense to you guys. I hope you got some value from it. And I would love to hear any feedback you have, any questions, any thoughts that came to mind about this particular exercise.
I'm good with any questions this week. Actually, I know I have a lot of catching up to do myself, so that's why I'm just pretty much listening and getting feedback.
No worries.
Yeah, I'm still taking it all in. I don't really have, many questions or anything like that. I'm just trying to, just really gain more information, get more insight, to develop the vision for, what I'm doing. Just see what else I could, add into it, just to even, push out this vision that I see. So, yeah, I don't really have many questions. I did, I was. What about like prototyping when it comes down to like production and stuff like that? Like, do we get into that here or?
About you want to place an order for like a prototype order?
Yeah,
something you want to like
prices and all that type of thing. Like, would would that be here?
Yeah, well, we would want to handle that with you offline on your own, not on the group call. So if you want to email us the prototypes you want to order or give us a call or come in, then that's fine. But this is just more so to share information that helps everybody in general. Because we're all, you guys each have your own clothing line, but you're not in competition with each other at all. You guys have completely different brands. And same thing with everybody else who's in this program, because there are a lot more people in this program. Not everybody jumps on the weekly calls, but I think it would also be beneficial if you guys wanted to talk about your own brand. Like when we were going through that exercise with Louis Vuitton, did any words come to mind for you for DMT?
Yeah, definitely. I mean the uniqueness, of the craftsmanship. How they took one thing where they said, saw a problem and wanted to, put a solution to a problem and stuff like that. So, with, the creativeness, like even with from where they started and where they at now, getting to the different collabs and, that type of things and seeing the creativity grow within that brand or whatever. I mean, that's kind of what interests me from, the Louis Vuitton thing. I mean, I can't really pimp,
You got any words for your brand yet? Or are you still thinking on it?
Yeah, I'm still thinking on it a little bit. I mean, the exclusiveness of, it's gonna be, more so expensive. I haven't got the words down yet, but
okay, no worries. Take your time. It's something that's always, evolving. You want to sleep on it, stuff will come to you as you're driving around, listening. You might see something on TV, hear something on the radio. Right. You're like, oh yeah, that word is great. So you definitely don't have to have it all figured out today by any means.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, my question is kind of how do you both keep up with your ideas, your thoughts? So let's say you are developing and coming up with these 3 words, thinking through your brand. How are you keeping up with all of the information that's going to pop in your head at random places? Or do you have a Google Doc, or do you have a notebook? Like, how are you keeping up with things?
I have notes. Like for me, that's where actually, because I thought of goals driving down the street. So I immediately like grab my phone, put the notes down, and so I read a lot too. So everything that I read is everyone's situation for them to get where they are now. So I take what they have and I have a, like notes and I write. I have a lot of notes about different
Okay.
people, different sayings, different who said what, and if it relates to goals, then I, quote it and see who wrote it. So yeah, that's for me. That's what I do for sure.
Good.
Because it is a lot for me, for my brand. Like it's too many situations, So
Yeah.
I do try to remember certain things. So I do write. I do have a notes section in my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same here too. Yeah, I kind of jot down stuff here and there in my notes if I come up with anything. But most of the time, I just honestly go back to like what I feel or what I like for self. I know I like luxury things. I like more so quality over the quantity of things, or I mean business wise, yeah, I try to look for stuff that at nice good prices or whatever. But a lot of times I just look for what I feel comfortable with, whatever I think is would be a good purchase or to my likings, and that's kind of the image that I want to portray, or the type of product or people I want to see, or that I want people to see or consumers to see as far as my brand or product or whatever. So
Gotcha.
that's
Gotcha.
kind of
Yeah,
like
that's
how
great practice. I use my notes app to death. I got so many notes, and the things come to mind, just put it in there. It's because if you don't write it down, you'll lose it. You have that great idea. You never want to forget it. Were you about to say something, Monica? Or you just?
No, I was just saying it just goes away. If you don't write it down,
Oh
it just
yeah.
floats right on out.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, I
Yeah.
have so many notes
Capture
in
your
my
dreams
phone.
too.
Yeah.
Capture your dreams. There's so many. It's so many wild stories of businesses that came from somebody's dream, like literally. Um, Man, it's like the power of your subconscious. That's the most powerful thing in this universe is the human subconscious. So your dreams, your thoughts, it's like a gold mine for millions. So always capture your thoughts and
Mm-hmm.
dreams.